Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. You are officially inside the Sister Sense Circle Back to Business virtual conference listening to our Masterclass series. Our topic today is all about how you can close your core so that you can open yourself up to greatness. I am so excited today. We get to laugh, we get to love, we get to play. I have the amazing Lynette Crosby here, the creator of ARLTA.com. All roads lead to ascension. Lynette is a healer. She's a light worker. She's an empath. She is connected to you on so many levels and so invested in helping you clear whatever you need to clear so that you can heal and get clear about your next best step. So, Lynette, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here. Hey.
Hey, you. Yeah, I'm excited. Let me introduce myself. Oh, go ahead.
Yes, I was just about to say that. You read my mind. Before we do anything else, introduce yourself.
Okay. My name is Lynette Crosby. I'm creator of www.arlta, All Roads Lead to Ascension. And I am a guide. I am a teacher of teachers, and I am also a spiritual being on a human journey, just like we all are. I help people to feel better now and to reach past their experiences and circumstances and realize the magnitude of their power. And I do that with joy, divine love, laughter, happiness, nurturing, and the highest and best good for all.
Wonderful. So, Lynette, we wanted to do this particular session today because you and I, a few days ago, had a really intense conversation about the significance behind wanting to move forward, right? This whole masterclass experience right now for Back to Business, we're talking about where to start, right? Especially because a lot of entrepreneurs either feel like they're stuck or they're unclear about their next best step. And we were in a space where I said, you know what? For a lot of us, we start with this energy of excitement and intention, and then life happens. Whether it be internal or external, we start to hear these voices, which you identified as whispers, that tell us we can't do it, it's not going to work, something's wrong. We start to doubt, we start to delay, and then we stop. So I felt like there needed to be this conversation about what that is, so people could identify, what those feelings are, what those thoughts are, who those whispers are, right? What's your verse versus what's not. Because once the fire fizzles, we need some sort of plan, right? We need some sort of clear identity to identify, again, what's ours, what's not, what's positive, what's negative, Lynette, as you say, what's high vibration versus low vibration, so we can be in a space of clarity and power through to your best you. So I want us to begin the conversation, Lynette, talking about what you feel are some of the first things that we need to discuss with respect to understanding what it means to close your core, what your core is, and then we'll kind of flow from there.
So the way that I will start off with the core is the foundation for every person. We all have our core. Generally, we think of our core as that area that we need to get washboard abs with or, work out and do our sit-ups, when in reality, this is just information that we've never been taught. Our core is the energy center of our body and our energy body. And what do I mean by that? Your core is your spine, it's your chakra system, it's your heart, it's your high heart, which is your thymus gland. And if you want to think of a visual, it's like 3 fingers. So your 2 index fingers and your thumb, if you place them together, that's what your thymus gland looks like. And those areas are very open and vulnerable. And underneath that is our emotions, our thoughts, our feelings, the places that we have been wounded, and why certain people and certain things can hurt us so badly, even though we feel like we've, steeled ourselves against that, even though we feel like we have that sword and shield. There are times that we can see or hear something, and it just crumbles us and crushes us. Now, whether or not outwardly we show that to people, we are still having that experience. So how do we replace that experience with some type of action? It's getting to know that your core can be closed, that you can seal that part of you off, you can clear that part of you, and that you can heal that part of you. So the first thing that you want to do is to do an exercise. The exercise to close the core is very simple. It doesn't take a belief system. It does not take a belief system. It doesn't take a how do I try to say it? Basically what it takes is you understanding that you are energy, and in the simplest way possible. When you walk across the floor and your feet rub across the floor, that creates an electricity and you can feel a spark. So that shows you that you have an energy body. Because if there was no electricity there, you walking across the floor, you wouldn't feel that spark of electricity. Once you understand that you have an energy body, then it's about energetic hygiene, right? And closing your core and closing your core and sealing yourself in those places in your body that need it can be one of your greatest tools of energetic hygiene. This is how you close your core. I divinely love, I divinely protect, and I am divinely grateful for my heart, my thymus gland, and my core. And higher self, I am grateful that you have helped me to heal, to clear, and to seal my core. Now, I say that every single day. I say it so that I can protect myself from the things that I see. And I say it not only to protect myself, but I say it so that I can be present for the joy, so that I can be present for the good things that are coming to me. So I'm not in a state of pain or confusion or distraction. And I'm not just always looking to seal myself, but I'm looking to make sure that I'm not in a place where I'm looking at that thing that I've seen with pain, but I'm looking at that thing that I've seen with what can I learn from this? What can I embrace from this? How can I complement this and raise the vibration of what I am experiencing, seeing, hearing, or feeling? Your heart and your thymus gland is a part of this beautiful system, this beautiful energy system that is there not for you to have to always protect yourself from, but so that you can be open to the joy that's available. And you do that first by cleaning that energetic debris. So when I say I divinely love, I divinely protect, and I'm divinely grateful for my core and higher self, that higher version of me that I want to be, we all have that higher version. Higher self, I want to, I want to feel good, right? Here's the basics. I want to feel good. I want to sleep well. I want to make sure that I'm going to the bathroom so my head is clear. I want my thoughts to be, clear, and I want to be present. How can I do that? I can do that by making sure that my base needs are met and that I am supporting this part of me that I didn't even know it existed. But in doing so, we all get to be that better version and highest and best version of ourselves. So you can also do that and understand it's a physical feeling because our body is an instrument. And in it being an instrument, we are able to, fine-tune that instrument. We are able to complement that instrument. We are able to take care of that instrument. We don't understand. This funny thing happened to me the past couple of days. My computer kept saying, your battery is low. Your battery is low. And I looked at it, and I was like, oh, my gosh. The first thing that I do is jump to plug that charger into that battery. my phone is low, or, my phone cord broke and I needed another cord. And I was, I got to get another cord. I was borrowing other people's cords. I was doing everything that I possibly could do to make sure all those things were charged and make sure that, the cord is bendy and it doesn't work right. Nope, I need to make sure that it works right, it's pristine, that there's no issues, that it's charging, not only charging, but charging quickly. And not so low and drained that it takes a full day or a week or a month or a year to charge. And we're on top of that. But closing our core, you paying attention and, and healing and sealing our heart and our thymus gland, that beautiful high heart, that lotus flower that you see, that we all love. Every time we see that lotus, we think of, Asian culture. We think of, beautiful water and spas. And the reality is that we are so drawn to that because that is what's inside of us. That's our high heart, and that's sealing the core. So that was a pretty long answer, but hopefully it resonated, and the basics are simple. I divinely love, I divinely protect, and I am divinely grateful. And you stop, and you feel that. And you ask, I divinely love, I divinely protect, and I am divinely grateful for my heart, for my thymus gland, for my core. But you start out with just your core because you want that physical feeling, and each one is a different frequency, is a different note, is a different instrument that's playing. And when you play them together, you have this beautiful symphony. And that beautiful symphony starts you to be in a state of protection and grounding and making sure that you feel good from the inside out so that you can see the joy. So you're in the frequency so that those messages, signs, and signals are clear to you and you're not distracted by the lower frequency things that can come around us, like the whisperers, that can say something that hurts you, that reminds you of something that happened to you when you were 7, or that thought that makes you want to be frustrated with someone, and you're like, and you weren't thinking about that 5 seconds ago. That wasn't your thought. So I'll go a little bit more into the whisperers, but I want to pause and see whether or not this answers your question, or did it bring up any questions for you, LaShanda, that I can share so that maybe I can give a little bit more insight to the people who are listening?
Definitely. One of the things that I feel like resonated was especially just kind of giving people practical solutions to, okay, this is your self-nurturing practice. You talked about energetic hygiene. So I said, okay, this would be an interesting concept to kind of define for people and let them understand, number one, what energetic hygiene is. And then number two, this concept of closing your core, especially when you're saying, okay, well, it's open, you're vulnerable, and you've got this emotional opening. People say things or you hear things that make you feel uncomfortable or triggered. What signs can alert you to this discomfort? Now, this is a two-part question.
Okay, so
let's start with energetic hygiene.
Okay. Energetic hygiene are things that we should be doing daily, and for me, it's a part of my joy practice. So I used to say, they say speak positivity to yourself, and there's things that you should do. And I started creating, what I call it? It's so funny because it used to be off the tip of my tongue. My love work. That's what I used to call it, love work. And when I said work, it made me triggered, and I was like, I don't want to do it. It's work. I don't want to get up and do that every day. And so I turned it into my joy practice. What is joy practice in the form of energetic hygiene? It is making sure that you are the priority. So we're taught to brush our teeth. We're taught to bathe as a part of our hygiene, right? That, cut your nails, make sure you take care of your hair, and, you clean your face and your ears. I mean, that was a big one when we were children, right? But the reality is that our energetic hygiene gets neglected. And our energetic hygiene is the way that we take care of this beautiful energy body that we have. Our energy body, there are so many different parts to it. But you have an aura, you have your personal energy body, and then the 7 layers of your energy body. You have a chakra system, that beautiful swirling, vortexes of different levels of light. And we, most of us know or have heard of the chakra system. And those things end up having a lot of energetic debris in them. And we can tell whether or not that part of us has energetic debris. And it's a buildup. It's like dust. If you never clean it, then you're going to have to go in and clean it out. But having to and getting to is what the distinction there, because actually you get to clean it out so you can be clear. So for me, my energetic hygiene was very important when it came to my throat chakra. My throat chakra is literally at the throat, a part of your glandular system. And when it's blocked because we hold back, or we felt held back, or we have a hard time speaking our truth, we need to do things to support that area. And the things that we can do to support that area is, number one, I divinely love my throat. The same thing that we do to close the core. You have those little things. Like the first thing that I do in the morning when I open my eyes is I say, I divinely love me. Because if I don't say it, it doesn't matter if anybody else says it. Even though I want that from them, my energetic joy practice, part of my energetic hygiene is loving me first. And it's not a matter of, well, no, we're taught, like, no, if you're supposed to love on everybody else. But as women, one of the biggest things that we can understand, and as men, one of the biggest things that we need to embrace is that loving ourselves is the priority. That's a part of taking care of our energetic hygiene. And then there are different levels of things, but a lot of things that we can do energetically to clear ourselves are verbally. I divinely love, I divinely protect, and I am divinely grateful. So I divinely love. Why do I put divine in there? Because I used to say I just love. When I said divine love, I felt a deeper level of energetic clearing. So I don't teach the way that I started. I teach what I understood, because it took me step by step to figure it out. I divinely protect. I understand that divine love, divine joy, and the highest and best good are the ultimate protection energetically. So I know that. So when I say I divinely protect, that's what protection is defined as for me. Because love, divine love, is something that we don't have to, well, let me replace it. Power is something that can cause a lot of fear for people. And when they talk about power, that word, it triggers them. It brings up, like that big, huge person with force. But the reality is we don't have to fear power in ourselves, and a lot of us do. And we don't have to fear power in others, and a lot of us do. And when we fear that power in us because we're coming from a place of anger or pain, it's only out of trying to protect ourselves. And then so we are either passive or aggressive with no middle ground because our energetic hygiene is not right. And then so I help people to realize that part of that is the one true power is divine love. That's the greatest power and force that there is. So when I say I divinely love, I divinely protect, and I am divinely grateful, I make sure that I understand the definition of that word, because this is the intention behind saying it. I don't have to fear power in myself or others, because the one true power is divine love. And which goes back to this practice that I create to clear that part of me energetically, all of those parts of me, And it's just to make it more of an energetic understanding, to keep it as simple as possible. It is basically, I focus on my body, my energy body, and all parts of me, known and unknown. I speak love to those parts of me. I am silly and fun with those parts of me. And I just focus on me for a set amount of time a day with intention in the morning and the evening. And as I do that, my vibration is raised up higher. I make sure that energetically, I know that constipation, dehydration, insomnia affects me, my energetic hygiene. So I make sure that my base needs are met so that I can move forward in whatever it is I need to do for the day. Just like I get up and I, put my hair in a bun and I make sure my clothes are clean and I wash my clothes and I do what I need to do. That energetic hygiene is so important to me because it's what allows me to teach. It's what allows me to relay the messages that I have to share with others. And I think that I've taken that a little too long, so I'm going to kind of pause there. But hopefully you get an idea, and if you have any questions or you want to explore it further, please go to rlta.com and click the Great to Call Me tab and leave me a 90-second message, and I can discuss it further with you. But I want to just give you kind of an idea.
And I think it's very clear. I think what you just kind of described allows those of you listening to be able to ask yourself, are you taking your energetic hygiene as a priority for you, right? That space where you kind of allot time for yourself, as Lynette says, with intention to think about your emotional, mental, and energetic hygiene and those parts of you that needs to be cleansed, right? Do you self-nurture? Do you have your own personal joy practice? And how much of that is a part of your day versus everything else? Because as adults, as we know, everything else sometimes feels like it consumes so much of us that it's hard to identify when you do have these times for yourself. But that's important, myself included, understanding when it's time for me to take a nap. Sometimes I'll tell people, do as much as you can do and then just take a nap. Something that you feel like you can do to rejuvenate yourself. I feel like that's important. Now, you talked about being passive aggressive, right? Let's kind of think about, and even, dehydration or constipation. We've had conversations around, either shutting down or, trying to rationalize away or explain away things that are happening, confusion. Can you identify some of these feelings that you can say, this is your kind of like look within checklist to see, you're vulnerable right now. Your core is open right now. And these things are just not things happening to you because that's life. There's a deeper conversation that needs to be had with self.
A lot of us, it can start with aches and pains in the body. Everything is a sign or symbol. What are when we're trying to push through, we're working too hard, and we get to the point where we can't think anymore, and we feel that state of panic. That's when we start going on automatic pilot, and we're not connected to our hearts, when we feel ourselves speeding up or trying to push those little tiny things. If we literally just stopped and took 60 seconds to say, wait a minute, I'm not okay right now, and said, what can I do? I'm the priority. I don't feel right. And just sat down, and if you got to literally go over your feet, your heart, your chest is tight, your shoulders, all of those things that we're feeling, you have that part of you. You have the signs and symbols of, you'll start seeing your phone say things like your battery's low. The coincidences. There's always, if you can't get it internally, there's always external signs and symbols around you. Argument. You snapped at somebody. You know you didn't mean to snap at that person, but you just snap at them. It's like, where's the milk? Or slamming something or swearing at somebody, just out of turn. Those are like the biggest signals. But instead, what happens is when we do it, we go into embarrassment, guilt, and shame. And we either, when we're in that space, we either go into defense mode where we're trying to defend what we did, or we go into hyper apology, as opposed to stopping and just being and realize that guilt is the opposite of love. It does not serve a purpose for you or the person that you've hurt. And how do you get to the healing part? You can't heal them from a broken place. So stop and get right with you. And then have that conversation with them so you're not coming from a passive-aggressive place. And here's a new way of having a here's some new vocabulary. Pause. I was being passive-aggressive. I apologize to you. But before you apologize to them, apologize to yourself. And bring that fragmented part, and that's another word, that fragmented parts of you into your heart for healing. Because that part of you that's drained, that part of you that's overtired, that part of you that is like overwhelmed needs you to nurture you. And that nurturing can start with going into a quiet space. It could be the bathroom, standing there, putting your arms around yourself and just rocking back and forth and saying 2 letters together. Shh. Shh. That sound of nurturing. It's an easy way to find yourself back at your center. It's very, very simple. We'll do it to a baby. We'll do it to, we'll do it to hush somebody, because it really does soothe. For some of us, it's Om. Those 2 symbols together, very, very powerful energy. But I think works really good, because whenever I'm in that space, it's like, okay, let me go for a walk and just hush. Just relax. Do it 10 times and see what happens, how you feel, how you're able to self-soothe. And that can get you out of that experience of passive aggressiveness and get you back into solutions, action. Okay, I'm ready to take care of me because I don't want to be in this passive-aggressive place with you. And if you notice that someone else is doing it, you can disarm them by stopping the conversation, and not in a passive-aggressive way yourself, but just saying, listen, it seems like your energy is low. Do you want to talk about it? Because I was feeling like my energy is low too. That empathy and connection can really disarm those moments. Because when our vibration is low, we're open to those whispers that want to start more arguments and feed off of energetically a lot of the things that we're going through. And so getting back to making sure that our energy is right, we're in balance, can help us to stay out of those passive-aggressive places. But a lot of times we don't, because we're in so much pain from what we're experiencing in our everyday lives, that when you're in that space, anger and frustration come out because you don't have words or vocabulary to put on what you're feeling. So we either stay in that space and we're, overly aggressive or overly passive. And we don't have to be, when we recognize that there are external things that are causing those feelings in us. Now, I'm in a place where I have my foundational needs met. So when I find myself drained, I am very, very clear that the reason why I feel like my battery is low, because my battery is low. It's not because of what I'm being exposed to. Let me check. Wait a minute. Am I going to the bathroom? Yes. Is my water right? Yes. Am I sleeping well? Yes. okay, so I'm still tired. So energetically, now I'm clear. I need to make sure I support my energy body.
Hello? Now, that's powerful. That actually caused me to create this checklist as you were talking, because a part of this conversation is, to me, about empowerment, so that you can identify what happens to you when you feel vulnerable and your core is open, and then you can have a language. Now, what's powerful about, one of the things that's powerful about what you said is not only just having a language for yourself, but being able to identify if you can see these things, these low energy, these low vibration frequencies coming out of somebody else, and being able to check that conversation and move forward without creating a hostile environment or an experience that will in some ways fragment either of you. So I think, wow, here are a few things that Lynette just said that I want you to kind of pause, reflect on, write down, so that you have her I think some of her great strategies and practical solutions to come back to. One is understanding if your battery is low, there may be more to it than, just using the words that we use all the time. I'm stressed, I'm overwhelmed, I didn't get enough sleep, da-da-da-da, right? It's so funny, before this conversation, I said, Lynette, I'm feeling low and I'm feeling sleepy. And what's interesting? My battery on my cell phone actually turned red. When your phone, it hits red and then it says battery low. I put it to charge before I got on the Masterclass session, and I was like, man, I'm sleepy. And so interesting that you say, listen, those are signs, those are indications that it's not even just the battery of the phone, there's something happening with you, right? Mm-hmm. And so I thought that was such a powerful thing to consider. One, thinking about these signs and things that happen in our life, understanding, what might be happening to you. Number one, if your battery is low. Number two, the phrase pause. I love to tell people when I'm doing sessions, let's power pause for a second so we can reflect, so you can do some work before I keep talking, right? So this powerful word of pause. It's okay to not be okay. Understanding that and starting to take that into account when you're working. So many women entrepreneurs that I work with always find themselves feeling like they're 10 steps behind. What they needed to do today, they couldn't get done, and they feel bad about that. It's okay to not be okay. Stop self-sabotaging or self-abuse, saying negative things to self, and not realizing that, again, it's okay to not be okay. You cannot heal others from a broken place. I think if I never heard another powerful message from Lynette, that one right there would just kind of keep me for a lifetime. You cannot heal others from a broken place. As entrepreneurs, as mentors, as coaches, you so are invested in lifting other people up, and at the same time neglecting you when you feel like you're exhausted, overwhelmed, or torn down. It's not going to be effective. It's not going to really work in your business or whatever. And sometimes we think it's the technical stuff, right? The marketing, the sales, the website, all that other stuff, not understanding that some of it is the emotional stuff, the emotional hygiene piece of, if you're broken, how do you expect to heal others? Understanding the concept of fragmented parts, I think that's something that I would love for you to go into. What does that mean? Especially when you talked about being fragmented from trauma and experiences in childhood. If you could touch on that a little bit. And then the final thing I'll say, as far as your checklist, ladies, you want to make sure that you're really writing down and taking note of the conversation and the language that Lynette is sharing here. Self-soothing, right? So whether it's or shh or another phrase that you find that you utilize to relax yourself, that's something that is powerful as well. So continuing this conversation about fragmented parts being traumatic, and even from there going into what we talk about as far as fears and the fright zone. I think that's kind of a transition that we can move into with this conversation. But before I say let's go there, is there anything else that you wanted to say before we enter that conversation?
I think the fragmented parts is a great place to go, because I definitely want to focus on the fright zone. I think that it's very important for us to have that conversation. So let's talk about the fragmented parts. Number one, how do you get fragmented? A fragment can happen in a moment of, verbal trauma, emotional trauma, mental trauma, physical trauma, and seeing something that, just is not meant for you to see. So what I talk about is this. There's a commercial online that you're watching the commercial and everything is going along fine, and then something jumps at the screen, and when it jumps at the screen, it literally causes you to jump. I mean, like out of your skin, off the floor, and it's let's say they meant it for a joke. Your core was open. It caused you a state of heightened fear or fight or flight, and the person that made that happen, oh, it was a joke. Let me see. That actually causes you to be fragmented in that moment because your body is trying to protect itself. And a lot of us, when we have those moments, we'll have someone, that other person on the other side that caused that fragment will say, oh, you should have a thicker skin, a better sense of humor, this or that. And instead of responding in the way that was traumatizing, that was unhealthy, we can either go into a state where we start literally cussing them out, or we go into a state where we don't say anything at all. And that one event can last with us for weeks, for months, for years. And in some cases, I've had clients where it's lasted with them for, 40 to 50 years, in some cases longer. Why did that fragment happen? That fragment happened because our emotional needs were completely ignored. And we now have this part of us that needs to be healed, that needs to be acknowledged. And we don't know that we're supposed to do that ourselves. We think that there's someone else that's supposed to do that someone else is supposed to fix us, that the person that caused that trauma is supposed to fix us. When the reality is that they can't. Because if they were in a space where they caused you that trauma, then something caused them trauma. And that's the cycle that continues to go on.
Now, can I ask you something before you continue? Is it possible for you to share with the ladies the little boy who fell on in the playground?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. So I go to a park that I go to ground in, and I watch this little boy, and he's on one of those like four-wheel scooters that you scoot. And as he's on this scooter, he falls. And he was clearly in some serious pain. Not a little bit, a lot. But because I could see it from the outside, and I wasn't sure if the woman who said this to him was his mother, was his aunt, was it something. But he fell. And in that moment, she says to him, "Shake it off. Come on, get up, you fine." And he didn't move. And in the moment of being physically hurt, now he's getting fragmented because she is telling him not only what he feels is not okay, and he's in physical pain, but emotionally he needs to detach himself from what he's feeling so that he can be a man, a big boy, just not involved in his emotional self. And being fragmented in that way, that's how we're taught. We're taught to shake it off. We're taught to detach. We're taught to erase the feelings that we feel. And we especially do this when it comes to not only, and let me say this because it's equal. We think it's, oh, no, we do that more to men. We do it to, it's done to us both. It's done to us both because we're taught to either be hyper emotional and then have that be something that we're chastised about, or we're taught to be emotionally handicapped and emotionally bankrupt and emotionally detached. And our whole lives we spend looking for things to soothe us. And we teach men that their soothing is sexual. We teach men that to take their emotions and to pour their emotions into sex, and because they cannot possibly deal emotionally with their feelings and what's happened because they've been fragmented so much that the only way that they know how to soothe is through sex. And then they get older and they believe that program because they've been fragmented so many times and detached so many times from themselves that they have all of those pieces that they need to bring into their heart for healing. But we don't teach them that. And we don't teach them that because we don't know it. We have this big campaign, and we talk about, if this is for the highest and best good, we have this very big campaign that we've been detached, from our families. And we, I didn't have my family around me. But the reality is that in not having that, there were things that I'm gonna change the line of that I'm going, because that's not where I want to go. I'm gonna go back to the fragment. So to go back to this young boy, he has this place now in him that he needs to fix, and he is only 4 or 5 years old, and emotionally, that part of him, when he is 15 or 20 or 30, he's going to be carrying around. And that part of him is still going to need to be nurtured. That part of him is still going to need to be acknowledged. That part of him is still going to need to be healed. And the reality is that happens to us all in one way or another. Whether it happens with a parent who is just parenting, doing what they know, whether it happens with a parent who is overcompensates, protects, over controls, and that causes us to be fragmented because they didn't have the right tools, vocabulary, language to heal themselves. Whether it happens because of us being bullied in that silent, secret place and us having to push that down and come home and act like everything was fine, because even if we said something was wrong to somebody, they were going to dismiss us. We look at emotions as weakness. Even though we are some of the most emotional beings out here, we look at it as weakness because we're afraid for others to see that we have emotions too. I think that I think, and I'm so grateful that I am one of the strongest people that I know. And I never thought that about myself. I saw The Wiz in 74, or I don't even know when it came out, in the 70s, as a little child. I didn't know anything about, signs or astrology, but I saw the Cowardly Lion. And I know it was a whisperer now. I didn't know that then. And it told me I was a coward. I was 4 or 5 years old. So from that time, I started to try to hide my emotions. Only my emotions were so loud that they couldn't be hidden. But I kept fragmenting myself. I was fragmented when I watched that movie. I was fragmented when I saw that lion. I was fragmented, and I thought I was a coward. I couldn't even say the word coward or speak the word coward because I had that part of me fragmented in that moment. Our children face the exact same things that adults do, even though we want them watching Barney and Friends. and they get fragmented, and then we get fragmented, and those fragmented children become fragmented adults. And so I don't want to just talk about it from the point of just saying you just become fragmented. I want to talk about it from the point of saying there are solutions. There is freedom. There is joy. I've experienced it, and I help other people to experience it. I have a beautiful client, and she had some issues with her mom, and her mom had passed away. And she started getting herself clear energetically. She started changing her water, making sure she was going to the bathroom. Her base needs are met, hydrated, sleeping well. And this emotion came up of grief. This fragmented part of her. This beautiful inner child that needed some nurturing. I was frustrated with her. I didn't understand her. Why didn't she treat me this way? Why didn't she do this? And we talked it out. And she said all the things that she was afraid to say in a safe environment, in a safe place. And something that she was carrying around for 30 years, she was able to release in 15 minutes. Because integrating the fragmented parts of yourself are standing there and having a conversation and speaking out loud the things that you're afraid to say. Releasing your fears to the heavens, to the stars, to the universe for healing and transmutation, and bringing that part into your heart for healing. I feel nervous and vulnerable today. And I feel embarrassed about that. And I don't like the way that feels. And I want to feel confident. And I want to feel good. And I bring that part of me into my heart that was little, that always felt awkward and left out. I acknowledge you. That part of me that was bullied, I acknowledge you.
I feel as though this is a moment. I feel as though this is a moment for you, whoever you are, who's listening right now, to acknowledge those fragmented pieces in yourself. Feeling awkward, feeling bullied. As I'm listening to Lynette, I'm thinking about, my inner child, my younger self, and in trigger words. Family members, people I knew telling me that, they were surprised that I could do certain things. They would expect that of my sister, but not of me, because I just was so quiet. So I was overly sensitive. And then also I seemed slow. Well, she don't talk that much, so she must be slow, considering that I went to an Ivy League school, that I, worked at Fortune 500 at IBM, that I've built my own business. Today, I still feel that little girl who sometimes gets sensitive and gets triggered when I hear the word slow or sensitive or lazy. If you can imagine the things that I do to maintain and create the kind of content that I create, folks say, LaShanda, you a beast at it. But the beast is not within me. It's the little inner child who says, well, somebody just called me lazy because I slept until 10 a.m. so that I feel bad because I'm thinking about that. Well, you awake? You ever have family members who, you could be X years old and they still make you feel like you're 10 years old? Oh, yes, I'm awake. My son has to go to school. We wake up at 5:30. Well, I'm thinking, you used to sleep till 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the day, so I'm surprised you awake. No, that's not me now, right? But then you have all of these fragmented pieces that make you feel insecure and unhappy, and like people diminish all the things that you've done. You diminish. People I know, my hubby, he talks more about my successes as an entrepreneur and my successes graduating in Ivy League school, Columbia University, one of the best schools in this country, in this world. He talks more about it than I do because so many people in my life diminished those things. Lynette is here talking to you about being bullied, feeling awkward. What are those fragmented pieces in you? These pieces that come out and make you vulnerable and make you emotional and make you hear people, even if they say something that's slight in 2 seconds that, you could have just heard and shrugged off. Those 2 seconds dig deeper and cut like a knife, because they go not just in that statement, not just in that minute, but they go years down. They're rooted way down deep. I think this is such a powerful conversation to have. And like I said, I wouldn't have this conversation with anyone else but Lynette. There are times that, honestly, she's helped me go through my past, talk to my inner child, and understand things that I was trying to figure out with my mother, right? She talks about one of her clients. I consider myself to be one of her clients, and she's one of mine. Just in some of the conversations that we've had, understanding that it's such a powerful statement to say, you have the power to heal your fragmented self. Sometimes people are waiting for that person to apologize. Even in death, and those people can't come back and you can't speak to them, you feel like it's never going to be resolved. Being in a space where you can talk to Lynette and she can share with you how you can heal yourself and integrate those fragmented pieces one piece at a time, that's powerful. That's something to consider. Nurturing your inner child, and as she says, again, add this to your list of words, add this to your new language list. Making sure that your base needs are met. I believe I'm sitting here, I'm writing, I'm listening, I'm writing, I'm taking in, because this is all natural for Lynette. She's qualified, she's experienced, this is where she lives. In order for us to get into this space and have that be a part of our lives, you got to write it down. You got to take it to heart. Do the I will practice and integrate it into your life as much as possible so that it becomes a part of your life. And then in doing that, it allows you to, again, open yourself up to greatness. Mm-hmm. Lynette.
I'm here. I love it. I mean, LaShanda, the reason that I can verbalize this to you, because I've always been good at doing it one-on-one with people. I can even do it in a group, but relaying that over the internet was hard for me because I was, in my emotions, right? The emotional tools that I've developed are all because of self-preservation, of self-love, of being in the fright zone and wanting to be free of that, knowing that there was better and seeking joy, and every day saying, bring me a higher love, bring me a higher love. I know there's got to be something better than what I'm experiencing now. I know that there's something better in the world. What is so wonderful that all of this has been created to distract us from it? And now, so I sought those answers.
I want to pause you for 2 seconds because you said something, but you just kind of, you just went right past it. And I want you to, before you say anything else, I want us to pause on that. But wait, as a side note, ladies, as you're listening to this, if you say, you know what, I would love to be able to sit down and talk to Lynette about where I am and what I'm going through, remember, you want to make sure that you write down ARLTA.com, All Roads Lead to Ascension. You can work with her, visit the website, schedule a session so that if you need to talk through some of these emotions and get in connection with understanding and identifying where you are versus where you want to be, there's something in there for you. And in there, in that conversation that you can have with her. I've had so many wonderful conversations with her over the last few years, and I want to be able to give you that opportunity. You can, again, go to ARLTA.com. All Roads Lead to Ascension. Write that down. You can take a look and visit her space later. We're going to talk about her Feel Better Now experience as well, because for those of you who are digging into this conversation and feeling it, resonating with it, knowing that you need to learn how to feel better now, I want you to make note of the fact that Lynette does have something for you, and we'll talk more about that soon. But, Lynette, you talked about being in the fright zone and having to go through a space of self-preservation. Can you define that before you go any further, what the fright zone is, what it means?
Okay. I learn things in the most unlikely of places. It's part of my process, and I look at the world differently. We all have the capability of doing it. I just think that it's one of my gifts that I can share and help people to figure it out. There was a cartoon show when I was a child, She-Ra and He-Man. And She-Ra was something that as an adult I started to watch again just because the news was so, I'm always looking for higher vibrating things to watch, and sometimes I make sure that I nurture my inner child and I'll watch, something that's amazing that when I was a child really resonated with me. And as an adult, I went back and I started watching She-Ra. And in She-Ra, this cartoon, there's the fright zone and then there's Etheria, this beautiful place. And the reality was that being in the fright zone was a state of mind, was programs, was experiences. And the fright zone was something that I knew, like at that moment, I knew that the premise of getting out of the fright zone, this place of, what is it for you, right? We all know those things that have us feeling like when we wake up in the morning, we're stuck, we're in pain. We feel like we're not sleeping. We feel out of control. We feel attacked. We feel, we feel like we don't have answers, confusion, doubt, worry, anger, frustration. All of that is the fright zone. The fright zone can be experiences that you see, realizing that you're seeing stuff, questioning your own personal, abilities and questioning your thoughts. And it's a state. It's an energetic state. It's a frequency. And the freedom zone is joy. So joy is freedom. That is the definition of joy. Joy is freedom. And we don't understand how to get from one place to another. So when I started talking and describing to people what they were feeling, the why, why do I feel this way? Why am I feeling so drained? Why am I feeling so stuck? Why am I feeling all of this pain and this confusion and this anxiety and these panic attacks? And how do I get out of it? I wanted to find a way to get out of it and getting out of the fright zone and that fragmented place. And like literally having to come up with it because I knew that there was something better. But the getting there was not something that someone had a roadmap to. I couldn't read a map anyway. So I needed to create something that worked for me in making sure that I could get out of that place. Out of being afraid to speak my truth, being afraid to stand up to people, feeling like I was a coward in front of people. I wasn't a coward. I could see and feel energy and things that we've all been taught to deny. And so that's what it was. It wasn't, coward is not the word. It's like you are the most in tune, how do I say it, radar. And those feelings that are coming up for you that are causing you fear that you're seeing, it's like that there's something wrong with the space that you're in. That's the fright zone, that you recognize it. A lot of us don't. But when you get to the point where you feel fear, when you feel those emotions that don't feel good, they are all warning signs. And we think we have to wait till the alarm goes off in order to get out of that place when we don't. We already have that little tiny warning sign. But instead we want that, we've been taught that, don't leave a fire when you smell smoke. Leave a fire when the alarm goes off. Does that make sense?
That's such a powerful thing. Don't leave the fire when you smell smoke. Wait until the alarm goes off. It's as if the bells have to be ringing completely for you to realize that something's wrong. And one of the conversations we had, you said, LaShanda, there was a powerful quote that I had mentioned to you. I mentioned before, I will say this now. Don't live the same year 75 times and call it a life. For some people, the alarm is not so much feelings of pain or extreme feelings of pain, but the monotony of being stuck and just going through the motions and just sticking at just doing the same thing over and over and not really identifying, hey, there's something more to this thing called life, that you might be missing, being in this space of monotony and day in, day out, not really being able to open yourself up to being great and new and different, even if that means being afraid at the same time.
And learning how to process those fears in the moment. Like that's the real. False evidence appearing real. And real evidence appearing real. But what affects you individually? What can you do now? All of these things are going on around us. Energetically, everybody's experiencing them, feeling them, seeing them, being exposed to them, having more fragments caused. Because once we see something, well, listen, I don't feel well. What if something like that happens? We're in, the states of those whispers, right? We're making plans for just in case and contingency plans and all of this other stuff. But we're not planning to get to feeling better and joy and that there's a possibility of better. What you focus on, you manifest. What you fight, if you have something to fight, it's because you're in its frequency. So how do I get to a place where I'm not in that frequency? We need to focus on ourselves, because I can give you a problem in the state that you're in right now and say, solve this problem for me. And that may bring up panic for you. That may bring up, you may freeze. You may just go into a ball and sleep because you can't deal with it. That was one of my favorite modes of leaving it alone and getting self-nurtured. Oh, I mean, whenever something happened, I would literally shut down emotionally because I could not handle anything else. And so I would sleep, and I used to do it in school all the time. Thank goodness for this teacher I had, Mrs. Haddad, because I don't think I could have made it through the energetic things that I was experiencing. Now, you feeling like that as an adult, and your 4-year-old is facing the same exact thing. And that's not meant to cause you fear. For me, that's motivation, because now I want to bring her joy. And how do I do that? That means I got to take care of me and make sure I'm okay and plan and look for that higher love and look for that joy, because I know it's possible. So I gave you that problem, and I gave you that problem in the state that you're in now. Now, at 7 days from now, I give you that same problem, only you got the water filter that you're supposed to get. Your water is right because you're 70 to 90% water. When your water is right, you're right. You're going to the bathroom. You're sleeping well. You got, some supplements, so now you're getting some nutrition and nutrients in a way that you didn't have. And I place that same problem in front of you. That problem is now not going to look like a problem anymore. It's going to look like an experience. And you're going to put the things in place in order to find that solution. And then you're going to go back onto your life, because that problem is not your day and your night and your week and your month. You can sit back in a state of love and self-nurturing and focus on what's important to you and the happiness of your family. And you're going to go outside and stand in the sunshine, and you're going to look up at the sun, and you're going to know that you're free. You can't fix somebody.
How powerful is that? I just had to pause you for a second and just think, how powerful is it when you can be presented with that same problem as you're sharing here, when you're fuzzy, when you're in fear, when you're in the fright zone versus when you're clear. One just stops you in your tracks, and the other, it's not overwhelming. It's not consuming, but it's just an experience, and it's like, oh, okay, I know how to handle this and keep it moving. I always find myself talking with women entrepreneurs, and in the conversations that I have, you would be surprised 90% of the time, before we even get to technology and blogging and sales and marketing, and you need to start here to do this and start here to do that. The reality is the doubt and the spinning the wheel and the confusion is life-related, is related to this homework that you're talking about, these circumstances that seem so overwhelming. It's like I can't even begin to get to this technical or this marketing or this sales piece, because this thing just right here, this thing right here has got me way down. And you said it so eloquently. You said what you focus on, you manifest. It's interesting. A few weeks ago, I shared a video on Sissio Sense about 10 ways to manifest more money into your business. But as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking to myself, guess what? Real talk, a lot of ladies can't even get to the point to manifest the money if you're not focused on, you're so focused on the stuff that is coming at you because your core is open and you're emotional and your hygiene, your energetic hygiene is not clean. The elevation, the revelation for me is you're so focused on that, you're manifesting more of that. And 2, 3 weeks go by, 4, 5 months go by, and then it's like, okay, LaShanda, I know you told me I needed to do this, that for my business, but, I can't understand it. It's not understanding that, because to me, that stuff gets clear when I'm trying to get that money, I'm trying to build that business. It's this. And I don't know if that makes sense to what I'm saying.
No,
when you said what you focus on, you manifest, that just hit me.
LaShanda, a year ago, you were doing back to business. And I was in here and I had changed environments. So I changed everything that I was exposed to. And I just said, oh, well, when I move to my new place, I'll set this up and set that up, knowing that those were my foundational things. And I was in a complete state of not having my energetic and emotional hygiene met, and trying to accommodate everyone around me and becoming passive aggressive and in defense 24 hours a day. And I was like, this is where I used to live at. I used to live in this space. And I was out of that space for 6 years. Why am I back here now again? Because the things that worked, the things that are foundations that I should focus on, the ladder that I built to get out of that darkness, I dismantled to accommodate everyone around me. And then I was expecting myself in that state to create a business, a heart-based business, and try to finish projects when I couldn't even think. And creating from a place of chaos and questioning and judging myself and not doing the things that I know to be true. And so when those things get off and what I'm saying to myself isn't high vibrational, it's time for me to go back to what works. And with some of us, it's developing something that does work.
That's powerful. That's powerful because one of the reasons why I felt like, again, this was an important conversation to have is because some of us sometimes feel like it's something else. My community's small. I'm so busy with my 9 to 5 or with my kids or with my spouse that I can't get to this stuff. Not realizing that you're not learning how to navigate the life things that you're going through because you haven't set yourself up for success. Side note, I had mentioned the 10 smart ways to manifest your money. If that's something you're interested in listening to, that audio is over at sissosense.com/922. Okay, 922. 10 smart ways to manifest more money into your business. If ever you want to sit down and listen to that, you can go there. Talking about
LaShanda,
what it means. Yes, sweetie.
I just wanted to interject for a second because I said something, and I just want to make sure that I support and not trigger. When I talk about our children are facing the same thing that we are, the way that we can help our children is by helping ourselves. Because once we love ourselves, we are the example of that love. They learn that by example. We create the environment for the change to happen so that they are lifted and uplifted along with us. You know that there are good things in this world. And if we want them to learn that, we got to be that person who is in that joy and in that divine love and in that divine peace and in that divine clarity and in that divine happiness. Because those are the greatest protection. If that 4-year-old grows up knowing how to close her core, what's she going to do when she's 44? Woo! I felt that. I felt that.
You know, I feel like that's a perfect segue into the conversation of creating the environment for the change to happen. You talked about being in a space where you didn't have your base needs met, and so it was like, okay, well, I need to go back. One of my favorite phrases is remember to remind yourself, right? So it's like I need to go back to what works. Around that time, or maybe somewhere before, or, sometimes time just kind of blurs for me. I know one of the things that we talked about was the first time we actually worked together, and you came out to Virginia. And we, whether it was the conversation about wearing white or the conversation about technology or just being in a space where you felt like you could change and work and get things done and be nurtured differently. What was that like? What came out of that for you? I think this is a conversation that would be great as far as, again, thinking about the significance of identifying what's not working for you in your existing space, identifying trauma when you go to a different space, and how creating new environments, both for yourself and for your children, allows you to open, again, yourself up to that space of greatness.
I reached past my circumstances. I jumped out of my comfort zone. I pushed and I went because I could see that there was a light there. There was something that I could feel was there, and it was true. When I got there with you, with Jay, with Alfie, I was in a supportive environment, not even understanding how supported that I was, because I was in a place with people who I could be myself with even when I wasn't sure who I was. I came to Virginia to create a new reality, not even knowing it, to create a space, because I understood that from the chaos I was in, I needed to have a new experience. I could not create something better from the same place, from that insanity, from that chaos, from that for me, it was like I started looking at the world around me. I started seeing the people that I loved that were suffering, and I knew that I had answers and solutions. And I could not help them from a place from where I was. I needed to create the space for the change to happen. And I came to Virginia because you had the tools and the resources and your gifts, because of the gifts of Sister Sense, what you had created. I had this linear thinking of just thinking that I was going to create my business. But when I got there, there was the element of humanity. There was the element of the environment, of the new, exciting place to be. And I learned so much. I learned what I wanted for myself as far as wanting more. I learned I had to go, and I couldn't do things the old way. And one of the first things that I had to build up the courage to do from the moment that she said it out loud was, LaShanda, I don't have any white clothes for this photo shoot that you want for us. Because I just don't, what did I say? I had enough money to get here. And my truth was received. There were no looks. There was only understanding and kind of like, what did I say before? I said shock and like understanding and respect. Like you really said that. Okay. Wow. Like I respect you for that. That was refreshing. That's what it felt like on the other end of it. And I was refreshed by it because I was proud of myself, because I would have been passive aggressive and I wouldn't have spoke my truth. And there's a lot of things I didn't speak my truth on, but I did my best and I tried and I had an experience. And because I had an experience, leaving that experience, I had strength. And I had strength not only because I created my business, but because there were healthy people there that I could conversate with.
Now, I don't know if you realize one of the conversations that we had a lot that weekend was hesitation in you talking about your work as a light worker, as a healer, talking about your Ohanite pieces, talking about what you create and what you feel and how you live. Just, I think I as best as I can remember, it was kind of like, I don't want to say this. I don't want to seem crazy. I don't want to sound crazy. I don't know how I put this. And being kind of like resistant to in the beginning, but eventually becoming completely comfortable with that conversation, whether it be through the videos that we did at that resort, that Clarity Weekend in Virginia, whether it be your videos or your conversations, the photos that we took, the content that we wrote, slowly but surely becoming more comfortable with sharing your voice and being in your truth without feeling traumatized. And that's something that we talked about, past experiences, previous working experience. I think you were, as a chef, being traumatized and not feeling like your voice was heard versus finding a space where you could comfortably talk about who you were unapologetically.
And that was your teaching. I mean, those were the seeds. I mean, you have a strength and you have a way of helping people to speak their truth. I see it when you say, get on camera. And everybody go, huh, what, me? No, I'm not going to do that. A couple of things happened. When I came there, I didn't know what was going to happen. My focus was, I have to create this business so I can save the world. I'm going to be real with you. Like, so I can save my family, so I can help them. And so I came with that fire, right? But then I had been so crippled and traumatized by working as a chef for 5 years, feeding 30 people over a week, working for someone who did not respect themselves, so could not respect me, who treated me like a slave, and who was supposed to be spiritual. And when I say spiritual, I'm not talking about church religion. I'm talking about a person who is awake and aware and talking and having the same experiences that I'm having with you. But the second that they close the door, their energy is completely different. I was able to see behind the scenes. I was able to see how they talked about and put people down. But growing up, my programming was, you go and make that money. And you make that money, and that money's going to help you. So literally, I would work, once every 3 months, go and feed people for a week and be crippled for a month and a half from it, not able to work, not able to do anything because of the emotional abuse, the mental abuse, the physical abuse that I was experiencing, thinking that I was having this great idea when I was actually being used and I was a prop. I was a prop for this experience. And I was a prop for a person who was a different color from me. So I was being used for the color of my skin. And I had to understand that when I came to Virginia, I had to process those emotions because I was so fragmented. I videotaped my process. I videotaped my process because I wanted to see, because I thought that I would, I knew that the fear was going to come on me and all that other stuff, and I didn't understand it. By the end, I understood it was the part of me that was fragmented from this experience that I had had. And when I came to Virginia, I just remember being completely stoic. Even though I was open, I was very closed. I couldn't even cry. And I remember LaShanda saying to me, I created this for you because you said you were coming, because you were worth it. And there was a part of me that was saying, yeah, right. when you leave, you're going to talk about me for not fitting in, for not being a part of the cool kids, for being awkward. I was so nervous when I got there. The exhaustion and the pain that I was in, and literally up until I don't know what time in the morning. I didn't get my plane ticket until the night before I went. I didn't get the name of my business until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. The night before, I had to be on a plane at 5 o'clock in the morning. I was completely exhausted, and I was running around. And I remember being in a place where this beautiful room that she put me in, with 2 beds and a fancy bathroom and a beautiful view. I had never experienced anything like that in my life. And what I really wanted to do, and it brings tears to my eyes, was just sleep and cuddle up in that pillow and know that I was safe and I made it. But instead, I jumped out that bed and I'm scurrying to get myself together because I wanted people to think that I had it together. And I remember going to sit at the table and LaShanda looking at me, and she could hear the chaos in there. But I thought she was going to look at me and judge me, and that old school abuse triggers. And I thought she was going to chastise me or something, and I was going to fail again. And she looked and said, "Are you going to get some breakfast?" And that moment was so big and loud because that showed me humanity, care, nurturing, all of these things, and disarmed me from all of those program fears in that moment. And I was able to slowly start to piece myself back together that these people are different. Her husband interacted with me by taking my bag and doing this old thing. I'm going to say old Southern thing, but I got a lot of men in my family, and it's like, you don't touch a bag. And I said, well, no, I got it, because, I don't want to be in my head. I got this. I'm strong. I can do this. I'm saying this to myself. And he's like, if you don't let that bag go and get off this bag, and if you touch it, you're going to pull back a nub. And I was cracking up laughing, and it was just this, like, I felt a part of something. Now I came there to build my business. I came there to do my website. I will never forget the second that I saw the screen on my website, and it said Arelta, and it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And I was so excited, and it felt so wonderful to me, but I had to go, and I had to be vulnerable, and I had to be around people and learn things that I didn't know before. I'm pausing for 1 second, because I'm going off on a tangent, but I want you to understand that it's about the right environment and the right people. It's about finding the right teachers, because everyone is not your teacher. And it's about being the right teacher, because you are the greatest teacher of all. Any answer you want is inside of you. But unless you go to have new experiences and be around new people and be vulnerable in the right way. And some people look at it, well, that's weakness, that's strength, because that's freedom. I think I get some of the most positive reinforcement when people are saying, you were willing to speak your truth and say this, and I could not say that in front of anybody. And I'm not saying things to embarrass myself. I'm not saying things to put myself out there, but I'm not afraid to say, I don't know what this is. I feel vulnerable and nervous because of it. I would like more information, or I need a moment to regroup because this triggers something in me from when I was a child, and I need to integrate that, or maybe you can help me to talk through it so I can get where I need to get at. That's what Sister Sense has been for me. And it's helped me to be that individual, because I'm great at doing it for other people. But I got to the point, the tools that I started to give to all of my clients, I was like, well, wait a minute. I started these for me. And when I get with you, it flows. It's easy for me to do it. It's a space. It's something that literally turns on in me. And when it's completely, when I am centered and I'm able to relay that to the people that I speak to. But you got to have those own moments for yourself. You got to be in those places that you're supported. If you travel and it was chaos getting there, why do you want to act like you can start and jump into something when you're still thinking about the fact that you didn't get no sleep, you constipated or dehydrated, or you're in pain? You're not creating the environment around you. And it does take courage. So be around people that are willing to speak about their own personal courage and that have the language so that they can help you to develop yours. Your love vocabulary, your encouragement vocabulary, your positivity vocabulary. And understand when something is whispering to you saying, no, don't say that, don't listen to her, that's triggering you. That's not your thought. If it's a negative thought, if it triggers you anger, that's not your thought. That's not your thought. But if it's something that can help you and it inspires you, then those are the things that you look into. But understand, all of the answers are within you. Everything you need, you were born with. And healing your relationship with abundance and money and getting to your greatness is about balance. And a lot of us, we're not making money because our root needs, our base needs are not met. We haven't healed those parts of us that need to be healed. The moment that a problem is created, the solution is created at the exact same moment. Ken Roller.
Wow. Wow. I want to just kind of check in with you because there are a few things that you just said I believe are so powerful. Number one, being in a space where you can empower yourself by speaking your insecurity, speaking your truth, to letting people know I'm not okay in that moment. You don't know how many moments I say, ladies, do you have questions? And it's silence. It's silence because to some degree we've been programmed that even when somebody says, hey, how you doing? Good morning, how you doing? Your response is, oh, I'm okay, I'm fine, even when you're not. Just because that's how we talk, right? Mm-hmm. And so programmed to not want to even speak your truth or ask questions. You know you invested in you. You know you paid for this help. You know you paid for this information. And then you're literally afraid to say, I didn't even know how I could. We talked about this, Lynette. LaShanda, I got to be honest with you. I didn't know how to log into the website, right? So I'm sitting there, I'm paying for it, but I needed help, right? So being in a space where you are unapologetically not afraid to speak your truth and ask and share, even if it makes you feel afraid or insecure, people see that as power. And there's something in us that we have to switch on and switch off to realize that is truth. Being in a space where you are around supportive people. That weekend was amazing. Afi, myself, Jay, Lynette, we just had such a powerful experience and literally built that website in 2 days, right?
Yes.
There was space to work and there was space to heal. And that's something that's important. You don't necessarily have to rush through, have to, try to show, what did you say, Lynette? Fake your way through it. I'm okay. You can heal and work and build all at the same time. Now, one of the things that you just talked about was being in this space, because if you work through this, you can also work through your anxieties around money. We've had conversations about a large sum of money that you had brought into your life and how you had to work through that, thinking, oh, yeah, this money is here, things are going to be okay, and that was a whole shift in itself. So let's talk about that, transitioning, understanding what it means to have this money. Sometimes people are like, oh, my life is a certain way. If I just had the money, it would fix it. Sometimes that's not just the case, right? What does that mean? And how do we adjust our understandings around money when a part of what we're trying to do in living in our purpose is also to be profitable and bring that money in as well?
The first thing about money that I understand is this. Whenever somebody gives me money and I don't have a plan, I blow it. And when I say I blow it, it's gone. And it's gone because the first thing that happens is those programs and subconscious and conscious programs of panic come over me. I was programmed from childhood not to be successful. How many of us know that? We talk about it in the sense of, being women, right? We talk about it in the sense of being, different ethnicities. We talk about it in the sense of being different social classes. We talk about it in all of those senses. So we have a lot of subconscious and conscious programs around and regarding money. So the second that we get money, everything around us starts going haywire. And then on top of it, you have the energy of others around you who may know that you have a large sum of money. And they've been taught to want it. And that brings up subconscious, thoughts or negative thoughts, or, you're going to leave me behind, or you're going to get ahead before me. And, and those energies and entities start coming in to the conversation. And then all of a sudden, we're looking at our bank account and it's gone. What are the reasons that's happening? The reason that's happening is because we are open. We're in a frequency of that. We don't acknowledge it. Everybody's life could be changed come tax time when they get their taxes back. But when they get it, they felt like, well, I need to just go and get something for myself and buy this next thing or do this next thing and not do anything with it because we don't have a plan. Having a plan, having a plan was a challenge to me. There's a video that you can go on to LaShanda's YouTube page and see that talks about making a plan. How do I make a plan? I didn't understand. I kept asking how to make a plan because I needed to make a plan when it came to my life. And if I had a plan when it came to the money that I was receiving, and that plan wasn't just to, okay, I'm going to put this in my business, but what do I need to meet my base needs and make sure that I am healthy and that my mind is clear and I feel good. And not the old way of, I'm going to work out and do this, but I'm really going to make sure that I focus on my base needs so I can get out of this fright zone that I'm in and clear the space in the blocks to my abundance and open up myself for something new. I've tried everything else. Let me find what that is. Then at that moment, I would have been able to be free. But I was in a space around people who were completely unsupportive. And the one place that was supportive, I was afraid to go. The one place that would have been supportive to me and supported my journey and helped me, I was afraid to be a burden because I was exhausted emotionally, mentally, physically. And when I'm exhausted, how can I have money and then try from that space? And no matter how much I slept, because I was sleeping in the same environment that was not supporting me, I wasn't sleeping. I was existing. I was closing my eyes, but I was not getting the rest that I needed mentally, emotionally, physically, energetically. And I was expecting to create something from that. I thought the money was going to fix it. And I had all of the money that someone could want in that moment, but still did not have the understanding. I didn't plan for that. I had the idea, but I didn't plan what I was going to do. I didn't build myself up in the way that I needed to build it. I didn't make sure that the people were around me were uplifted in their own way so they could uplift me. I was having conversations, but I didn't speak completely my truth. And I thought that money, but wait, I have the money. The money's going to fix it. The money's going to fix it. The money did not fix it. The money made the situation worse. And I got all of this energetic debris around me until it was gone. I realized that wasn't a coincidence. I realized it wasn't a coincidence because if I clear those blocks, if I make sure that I have what I need and my needs are met, I don't got to worry about that one lump sum of money coming to me. I can create abundance in all forms. I can manifest abundance in all forms. But I've got to come from a clear place. I need to be right first. And not right that you can't wait, one day when I get right, I'm going to do this. No. How about I be happy now? How about I make sure that my water is right and that I have what I need to remove the things that are blocking me energetically?
Now, can I stop you for a second? Because one of the conversations we had, you talked about lack of support, right? And being in this space where you're trying to figure out how to battle through your identity and your feelings around money. And there was one individual that you said, okay, I would love for you to help me, support me, recommend me. And this particular person said, well, I would never buy something from you. What does that feel like? How do you understand that there's something deeper happening with that person versus your person versus being in a space where you could say, I'm still going to power through and do what I need to do, even without you and lack of support. But I think that's important because that's a part of the conversation as well.
Believing the people around you. You have people around you and they love you, but they have their own traumas and they have their own issues. And the reality is that true divine love does not cause you that kind of pain. And for me, there was something that I wanted to do. I wanted to be a laser technician. And I remember looking at it, and I remember looking at it as an answer and a solution. And so I went to a person that I really value, them and their opinion and their ability to manifest, because they had what looked like, the really nice house, and they had their stuff together and what I thought was together. And I told this person about one of my biggest dreams. And I had a chance to, at that time for someone to invest in me. And I said, can you talk to them? Because I really want to do this. I really want to be a laser technician. It's very important for me to do that. And the person said, I would never go to you if you did that. I'm not going to help you to do that. I would never do that. I mean, just started ripping me down. And I just remember the feeling. I remember being silent and allowing this person to chastise me. And then I just never said anything, never mentioned it again. Now, this person was one of my closest human beings to me. And this had been a pattern in my life. I mean, these are people I look up to, right? They looked down on me. They were above me. We weren't equals. They had more than I did, and one day I would have what they had. But the reality is that every time I asked them for something as far as helping me, because they were good at business, they would give me literally the bare minimum they could possibly give me. Or they would use me and then judge me and chastise me and talk about me for not having it together. I was the built-in babysitter for people who would go to work and bring home their $600 a week. And then when it came to giving me money, they give me like $20, $30, and I was supposed to live on that and have an apartment. And then they were looking down on me when I didn't have those things. How many of us have had those experiences in our lives? Well, in this particular case, to go back to this woman, 5 years later, I'm on my way to become a laser technician. I get on a plane and I head to Arizona. And then I go to Sedona and I drive for the first time, and all these beautiful milestones, first time I've ever traveled in that way. And I call this person and I say, remember that time that I told you that I wanted to be a laser technician and you didn't listen to me? I'm getting on a plane and I'm going after my dream because that's something I wanted to do, and it hurt me when you said that. And the person was in complete shock. And they said to me as I got in to my room and I called them, they said to me, I didn't want you to get ahead before I did. I didn't want you to leave me behind. Now let me fast forward. I went to Charlottesville, North Carolina. And when I went to Charlottesville, North Carolina, I had a conversation again. And I had a conversation with this person, and the conversation went, I went and I created my website, and I did this, and I updated my business, and I'm doing this, and I'm doing that. And I got, well, you can't run a business like that, and that's not how you do it, and this is not this, and this is not that. And it wasn't about them not wanting me to be left behind. It was about them wanting to always be above me. And in that moment, I had complete peace because I understood what was happening was not personal to me. It was a fight in themselves. It was a struggle and a battle that they were facing that I know nothing about. But it was no longer my struggle, and it was no longer my battle, and it was no longer my pain. I didn't feel hurt. I didn't feel resentment. I felt complete forgiveness and peace. Because this is one of the people that whatever I said to try to share with them what I did, always tried to argue me down and tell me no and tell me that wasn't right, like so many others before. And I put this person on a pedestal, and I placed them in a place even above myself. I understand that the water that you're showering and bathing and cooking in can make you passive aggressive. I know what that is. And I know what being on the other side of it is, and having the peace and ability to communicate and understanding and being able to apologize and all of the things that I'm capable of doing now that had you met me 10 years ago, you would have thought were completely impossible. I understand that being in pain and being confused and having these chemicals that we are exposed to every day are not our reality. So I was able to find peace in that. I kept thinking that it was something and that they didn't like me, and it was something. We don't realize what we can be used by when we're exposed to those kinds of chemicals and things. We don't understand that. But there is so much more to life, and there's so much more for us to have, but we got to get around the right people and start speaking the right language. Right now, I am very, very, very particular about who is truly in my inner circle, right? And not even in my inner circle, in my inner spiral, because spiral takes you up out of that fear and brings you to the joy. And I don't want us all to be standing around together. I want us all to continue to move up to that higher love. But the main person that I focus on in that, the main person that I make sure is okay, the integrated fragmented parts of me that are now whole, I am number one in that. I am number one in that. And then those around me, I want to make sure that they're clear, because I understand that the water can make you passive aggressive in your own experiences, but once you get off of it, those distractions fall away. And you can be a healthy person for someone to communicate with. I understand.
Now, I want to stop you for a second because I just wrote down here, and it's such a powerful statement, understanding the significance of having a true inner circle, or as you put it, inner spiral. All roads lead to ascension, so you can elevate to your higher self. I feel like this is an important conversation to have because in talking about your experiences, we've all had experiences where we've wanted to do something and somebody either talked us out of it or tore us down so much that you couldn't even move forward in your thought process because everything then just turned into a doubt and a delay or a distraction. So identifying your true inner circle, whether you get into a huge lump sum of money or something great happens or you have a great idea, being in a space where you don't find yourself falling back into old habits and wanting to talk to somebody you should not talk to because you know they're not going to say something that you want to hear. But for some reason, the inner child in you wants their support, wants their praise, wants to be uplifted by them because just as Lynette said, you look up to them. You have to understand that they may be down in a space that can't allow them to look up to you or even look you in the eye. Sometimes the people who we find to be great, they've fallen so low, we can't even see that because to us, they're always on a higher pedestal. I remember listening to T.D. Jason. He talked about being in a space where you're a giraffe. Your head's so high, you can't look it down at the other people down there because you got to be with the giraffes. Understanding the significance of changing your circle and being in a space where people support you is powerful. It's powerful. And once you were able to do that, Lynette, this is the final thing that we're going to talk about today, ladies. Once you were able to do that and get out that space and understand that there are times that you strategically closed your core, but then as humans we fall off, and then you had to remember to remind to get back to your base needs. You opened yourself up to success. All of these things started happening. I remember one day you checked in with me, and we had a conversation about nervous excitement. Sometimes we are afraid of success, what that means, what that feels like. It's unfamiliar. And it's not even just the blatant trigger of somebody telling us not to do what we need to do that makes us stop. Sometimes it's the nervous excitement that makes us stop. Ooh, wait, this doesn't feel right. What is this? Right? Oh, my God, just thinking about the possibility of what's going to happen in the future, all of a sudden you get something happening internally, the butterflies or something. What does that feel like? Let's have that conversation as we wrap up because, again, once you start to close your core and really speak your truth, share your gifts, you are going to feel this nervous excitement. It is going to feel unfamiliar, and you've got to figure out what to do with it so that you can power through it and move forward.
Before I jump in nervous excitement, I'm going to say this very quickly, the power of silence. This is one of the greatest tools that I learned from Sister Sense as a whole, knowing when to be quiet. Now, I had learned that lesson prior to it, but it was reinforced prior to, coming into my money, prior to going on. I knew that there was power in silence because I was the person that I would overtalk, wanting to fit in. And that overtalk sometimes gave people and energies around me an idea of where I was going to be, when I was going to be there, what I was doing with my life, how I was doing it with my life. And sometimes the power of silence is such a powerful thing because, number one, when you're silent, you can listen. You can listen and you can hear things around you. Number two, when you're silent, but you are focused on yourself and your own personal healing, those things can't get into your energy field that are around you. Those people are not able to break you down with their words because you're not talking to them. So if you're not in a space where you're strong enough to shut off all those relationships, but you have goals and things that you want to do so you can heal yourself, one of the biggest things that I have learned on this journey is the power of silence. Just doing what you need to do and focusing on yourself and allow the changes of the energy to reveal itself. Because here's the greatest thing that no one ever taught you. Those people around you that are acting foolish and out of control and going through energetically whatever they're going through, you don't have to do anything to change them as much as you love them, as much as you want to bring them along. It takes too much energy to drag somebody kicking and screaming. But when you raise your vibration so high that you just stand in front of them or around them and their vibration has to raise, that is divine power. You don't have to fight anything. You just have to keep focused on yourself and not from that passive, aggressive place that we've been taught. Oh, I'm taking care of myself. That's it. I'm going to do this. This is my time. Forget about that. Is not the positive frequency. But we've been taught that if enough is enough, I'm going to take care of myself. How about doing that in silence? That's more powerful than anything. And not in that, oh, I'm not going to talk to you, silence, but just that this is my place. I am with me. I'm going to love me. I'm going to be compassionate and self-merciful, and I'm going to do everything that I can to find my higher love. Bring me a higher love, bring me a higher love, bring me a higher love. And that brings me to the nervous excitement. I've had opportunities similar to the one that I'm having today with being in this wonderful space and being able to be a part of the Back to Business conference this 7th year for LaShanda. I wanted that the first moment that I heard it. Are you kidding me? I have information and things that can help people. But energetically, I wasn't in a place that I was supported. So relaying that information would have been from a place of low vibration, and the true message of what I wanted to relay would not have been received. But today I get to smile and expect miracles and be in a great place because I processed my emotions. I said, I'm nervous about this and I want to do this, but I have 50 million things that I think can go wrong, and I have 50 million things that I'm concerned about going wrong, and I'm so excited. I wanted this, but what if I fail it? I wanted this, but what if it doesn't work out? What if I get halfway through it and they end up saying no, or they don't like it? There's nervous excitement in doing this interview. But what if you don't receive it? What if it doesn't resonate with you? I have nervous excitement because, oh my gosh, I'm going to be on this thing. I'm going to do this. I'm going to help these people. And it's a good feeling, and it feels great, and it feels wonderful, and I've never felt this before, and I finally feel good. And there's a feeling and a tightness in my chest. And that tightness in your chest is you stepping out of your comfort zone. And there's a difference in frequency between the pain in your chest and the tightness in your chest when you're starting to stretch and move out, and you are releasing that hold of that low frequency because you're raising your vibration. And you have to know what to do with that energy around you. But when you're in a place of pain and you're experiencing that frequency, a lot of times they don't mesh together. So what LaShanda has taught me is catch the fears. That's her saying, catch the fears. I replace the fears with action. So my fear is that I'm going to do this and everything is going to fall apart around me, but I'm nervous. Well, then I need to talk to people who have already been here and who have the knowledge. The nervous excitement is finally being free from something, but your body and your energy body has all this beautiful energy coming in and out of it, but you don't know what to do with it. That's why a lot of people who quit smoking will start smoking again. They don't start smoking because they're craving the cigarettes. They start smoking because they have all this energy and they don't know what to do. The first thing that you need to do is ground. And learn how to ground. Grounding is physical, grounding is energetic, grounding is mental, and it's a part of your energetic and emotional hygiene. Sitting down and finding a place where you feel supported on the actual ground. We don't touch the ground, yet our heartbeat is connected to the heartbeat of the earth. That's what they call the Schumann resonance. And when your heartbeat is in line with the earth's heartbeat, literally the second that you lay down on your tummy and you touch your chest to the ground, you'll feel your heart flutter. And it'll go real fast, and then all of a sudden you'll feel real relaxed because that's part of the nervous excitement. You're not grounded. So that you can be present for the joy that is yours. It's your birthright you're supposed to have. Grounding is being around the right people, the nervous excitement. Sometimes we're nervous because we don't understand that there are things that we need to put in place to catch the fears. And this is what we've been taught. I called LaShanda and I said, LaShanda, like, I have this amazing opportunity and I'm concerned about it and I'm nervous. What do I do? I'm not sure. I have they want all of this from me and I don't have everything together. And she said, be transparent. I know this. I teach this. But when you're in it, sometimes you need other people who are outside of it so they can see. She said, and LaShanda, I think really I'm going to pause myself here because this is what you need to share, because you have the experience in a different way than I have it. What you taught me, I think, is the most clear teaching. When you said to me, Jay said, this ain't your birthday. This is your life. Huh? LaShanda, you still with me?
I'm here, sweetie. I'm listening. I'm taking it in. I know you said you wanted me to. You want me to check in? You want me to check in and share my side to it? Because I was just listening to you.
I can go in, but that was what taught me about the nervous excitement. It was what you taught me.
Yes. And for me, I feel like this is a powerful conversation because when you reach a state of success, you can be afraid of it, right? We can talk ourselves out of things. I know for a lot of us, especially on the web, especially when you want to think about bigger things, one of those first anxieties is, what if I do that and get sued? What if somebody said I did something like theirs and it's a copyright issue, it's a trademark issue? Oh, the whispers, as we talk about, the minute you try to elevate and think bigger, then all of these anxieties come to play. Or, oh my gosh, I'm going to get this opportunity. What if I screw up, right? What do I do? For me, I always go back to and remember to remind myself of one of my favorite quotes which is, your next level begins where your comfort level ends. Because if you're comfortable, you ain't there yet. If you're comfortable, you ain't about to change nothing. You ain't about to move nobody's mountain, because everything that we do that elevates us to some degree is going to scare us. Kind of like that actor or actress, that singer that says, listen, before every show they throw up backstage or in the bathroom before they get on stage. We all are going to go through some degree of anxiety. I still get afraid. I still get nervous. Why? Because that's a trigger of identifying. And one of the reasons why I wanted you to share, and you can share this in a second, Lynette, is because different body parts and different feelings. And you mentioned, there's a feeling, there's a body part that when we get that nervous excitement, that something happens and it doesn't feel right, doesn't feel comfortable. I think we were talking about fight or flight or something. And so you may equate that feeling to, oh no, it's time to run. It's time to go. It's time to stop this. But it's also an indication, honestly, it's more so, I should say, not also, but more so an indication that you're elevating yourself and you're opening up yourself to greatness, right? Number one, catch those fears, identify them, and do it afraid anyway. I jump on stuff sometimes and say, Lord, I don't know what I'm about to do right now, but I do it anyway. It's kind of like, that dancer who's done that dance 1,000 times, and they get nervous when they're on stage. They made a few mistakes, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, my God, I made 3 mistakes. Listen now, you know the routine. They don't. They looking at you and thinking, this person is the bomb.com. Look how amazing they are. Look how eloquently, how gracefully they dance, and they do this thing like they just been doing this thing since the beginning of time. You sitting there picking yourself apart. They don't know your routine. You know your routine. So you've got to be confident in yourself even when you make mistakes, even with that nervous fear. Sometimes I'll stutter and I'll say, listen, I'm tongue-tied. You gotta forgive me right now. Just being completely, as you mentioned, I love to tell people, being completely transparent, not feeling like you always have to come with it and bring with it, just being you. A great simple example of that, I wouldn't say I was necessarily nervous, but I was transparent. There was an advertiser who came to me, a marketing company came to me a few weeks ago and said, listen, we love Sister Sense. We would love to market on your website. Let's do this. And one of the things that I've learned how to work around is nervous excitement when it comes to money. Ooh, they want to work with me. Ooh, they want to pay me. But they're asking me to tell them how much, right? And sometimes when you think about the statement of how much, it's like you're trying to figure out that magic price that they don't run away and you get paid. Right? And I'm telling you, there have been times in my life that a 5-second email would turn into a 5-hour, well, should I say this price? Should I say this price? Wait, no, that's too high. That's too low. But what if that's too low? Da, 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 da. I said, you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I do not work with advertisers on a consistent basis, but I do a lot of affiliate marketing. So here, let's do this, because I didn't have no time to spend 5 hours debating this thing. I said, listen, let's do this. If you would like to market on Sister Sense, let me know what you would like to present to me, what your offer is, what what's feasible for you, and I'll let you know if that works for me. That's how the conversation began. They came back. They gave me a number. It worked for me. I went with it. But you've got to be transparent sometimes, because sometimes you think you got to figure out all the answers. You got to say it the right way. It has to be perfect, or else they ain't going to want to play with you. And guess what? They could kick rocks and keep it moving. They didn't come to me. I should say I didn't go to them. They came to me. So I can't. What is one of my family members would say? You can't cry over something you never had. So as opposed to me sitting there 2-3 hours with the nervous excitement, ooh, I'm going to get some money, let me give them a perfect rate, and then what if it doesn't work out? Listen, I didn't have it to begin with. They came to me. So let me just see what they say, be transparent, and let it work out the way it's supposed to in divine right timing. So, I mean, that's kind of my quick and dirty list. I love that you talked about being grounded, catching the fear, and like I said, your next level begins with your comfort level ends. You are going to be uncomfortable. If you are too comfortable, that's a trigger that something is not quite right. You're not pushing yourself enough. You're not moving those mental mountains and doing what you need to do to unblock your blessings and move forward.
And, get something that's going to support you. I mean, you talk about catching your fears. One of the things I catch my fears with is my angel numbers. I catch my fears with my angel numbers. If I look around me, I go to my angel numbers and I look up my angel numbers and I make sure that I read something positive that can help direct me. I make sure I read it from love, not from fear, so that the message can resonate with me at the time. And one of the things that I make sure that I tell everybody is that, because that helps you to become your own best teacher. That comes to help you to look internally. But a lot of times when we're not okay, when we're not grounded, when we're constipated, dehydrated, ain't slept, and these opportunities come in front of us, that nervous fear is the fear because we know that we're not okay. And we're afraid to say it, and we're afraid to speak it, and we're afraid to be honest with people. Why do you want to work with someone or for someone or around someone that you have to be fake with? Because you cannot sustain that. And that is the reason why a lot of what we do fails, because we're faking our way through life. Sometimes the nervous fear is a sign that what you are doing right now does not support you. And instead of going with that, we feel like we're missing out on an opportunity. When it's right, the path is clear, and it's not a struggle. You don't got to struggle when it's right. There's a difference between stepping out of your comfort zone and knowing that things aren't right, but still doing it anyway. And that was one of the things and the lessons that I have been learning. When I feel drained, no, I can't run and go and rescue somebody. Because at the end, I end up being hurt and I end up being open to lower energies. And we've been taught that we're supposed to run and rescue. We're supposed to run and be there for ourselves. And it's okay that our stuff is, out of order and we'll get to it. But when you stop and focus on yourself and you take care of your needs and you make sure your stuff is right and you practice joy, because, see, joy gives you the fuel. Joy recharges your batteries. This month, is a month where there's a lot of energy around, and I'm going to make sure in this month, whether it's this month or next month or the month after, that I'm very selective about what I see, what I listen to, what I hear, what I feel, and who I have around me and how they're speaking. You will hear somebody have 50 million conversations about something's going wrong. Let you try to have that same conversation with them about something positive, and they want to talk about it for 5 minutes. And that's not a reflection of them. Think about how many times we focus and we obsess over what we did wrong and how many hours a day we do that, and how many hours we focus on what's not right, or how, someone, should be doing something for somebody. But there's a person outside that jumped in the water to rescue a dog, or that, held a little girl's hand to help her across the street, or a little girl held somebody's hand to help them cross the street. And we don't focus on the joy. We don't celebrate that. We don't take a moment to look at the good that has happened in our lives. But we will sit there for months, Sundays, and years and hold on to what went wrong. And the only time that we think of people in a higher status is if they pass away, and then we forget everything that they ever did wrong, and then we hold on to everything that they did right. When they were a balanced human being having the same experiences that you or I are having, and they just needed the same tools that you needed as well. The things that I do help you to find peace in ways that you never knew were possible. Help you to access the joy in ways that can literally bring you to tears and have you hugging yourself like, oh my gosh, I didn't know it could be this good. The things that I have started foundationally to start to get the word out and put Feel Better Now together from a place of, okay, I was in this low vibration place and I know how to get out of it, but there's the other people that don't. And I'm not going to wait until my hair is perfect or the outfit is perfect to get this together. Let me put this together so that they can have the information and start to feel the change themselves. Because I might be concerned about that hair out of place, but that person is concerned about that pain and that frustration and that insomnia and that constipation that they have been experiencing for years. And they want to feel joy and happiness and be able to run around and not dread when their feet touch the ground in the morning once they get out of bed, if they can get out of bed. I created Feel Better Now for anyone who wants to experience joy. We keep trying to build businesses on foundations that are not solid. We keep trying to build better lives on foundations that are not solid. We keep trying to build relationships and looking at people and thinking that they should help us when we cannot even verbalize how to help and integrate the fragmented parts of ourselves. We look to situations and circumstances to make us feel better externally when internally we are broken and in pieces and crying, and our inner child is still waiting for someone to hold us and to hold our hand. I have the pleasure and the honor and the gratefulness of knowing so many parts of myself that I get to, if I have a bad thought, stop and say, hi, you. Hi, 14-year-old self. Hi, 16-year-old self. I integrated those two parts of me into my heart for healing yesterday. And I was able to forgive both of my parents. But I forgave me, and then I brought me into my heart for healing, and I forgave them. Different scenarios, but they came up. And I had those thoughts, and that thought came up, and, oh, why am I thinking about that thing when I was 14? Because that part's ready to come into my heart for healing. It's not because the trauma is still there. I'm supposed to still live in the trauma. I had that thought because I'm ready to heal, and I'm ready to release that pain and make way for the joy and bring that part of me into my heart so I can become whole and one. So I can look at that part of me and thank that part of me for all of the things that it's helped me to learn and the ways that I act. Because one of the things that I said is the truth. If my father and mother weren't who they are, I could not be who I am right now. I would not have made the way that I love myself and others a priority had they not experienced and done and been who they've been. And first I was so busy trying to give all of the love that I wanted out to everybody else. But what I did was I took all of that love that I was giving out to everybody else, and I gave it to myself, little by little, every day. And when I did that, I had more than enough to give. I had more than enough to give. I was able to forgive because I learned how to receive.
That's a powerful message. And I want you to be able to finish your quote before I talk about a few things that I feel like we need to, as we get ready to wrap up today. What were you going to say?
I was going to just say, when you learn how to receive, and they say that quote, when you, it's better to give, not receive. Sometimes
yes,
it's just not true. The more you have to give, the more you receive, you have more than enough to give.
Yes. Lynette was talking about, and I don't know if you guys were clear about, she does have an experience. It's called the Feel Better Now experience that is she created for those who are looking to go through a process over the course of 7 days with her to understand what's missing. Even in the conversations, we talk about water, and people say you got to drink X amount of gallons of water a day. Not those kind of conversations, but deeper conversations about how to acknowledge that you need to make sure that your base needs are met, utilizing some of the things that she's integrated into her life when she needs to remember to remind herself, okay, these are the things that you created and put in place so that you could feel better now. Sharing those insights and those resources and those tools with you, providing a language for you as part of the Feel Better Now experience is something that I'm so, thankful to be able to not only experience but help to put together, because I am not qualified in this conversation the way she is. As you could tell, I wanted to make sure that you could have access to her so that she could put in her 2 cents on how you need to close your core and open yourself up to greatness. But this is just kind of the beginning of that conversation. So I want you to be able to, if you need to, you can go to arlta.com. If you want to connect with Lynette and talk about, your inner child, closing your core, identifying those triggers, identifying what you need to do to move forward, being able to integrate and heal the fragmented pieces, not just waiting, being frustrated and waiting for other people to do that for you, but learning how to do that for yourself, learning how to give and forgive. She always has these amazing spaces already created, these conversations where you can dive in and dig deep with her. Again, that's over at arlta.com. And there's also the Feel Better Now 7-Day Challenge. I want you to write this down, CORE, all lowercases, CORE. We're talking about closing your core. If you're interested in signing up to the Feel Better Now Challenge on Lynette's site, when you do so, I believe it's arlta.com/Feel Better Now, correct?
Yes, it is. And
okay, no
and listen, it's something you can't get wrong. It's not, it's not one of those things that you got to push yourself to do. It's something that is an experience for you to be nurtured. So this isn't, one of those things where it's like, I can't handle it. Come and have fun and allow somebody to, focus on you for a little while.
That's important, because as adults, we have programmed ourselves to be resistant to or hesitant to either opening our mouths or trying something new because we're like, oh, Lord, I'm going to get this wrong. Even though we tell our kids, you need to do it anyway. You need to do it. You just do it and be fearless. We have become the exact opposite as adults, sometimes afraid to do things, afraid to fail. I love that you always remind you cannot get this wrong. It's about you getting to a place where you feel right, where you feel better. arlta.com/Feel Better Now. When you use the code CORE, that's an opportunity for you to a reduced rate. Thank you for being a part of my circle, entering Lynette's circle. And, of course, if you would like to talk to her on a dig deep, get deep level, there are also ways in which you can work with Lynette one-on-one, details on the website, arlta.com. Lynette, any final words, whether it be about the challenge or just anything else you want to share with our listeners today?
Have faith in yourself. and have faith in humanity. Seek joy, and you will find it. And seek what is so wonderful that all of this has been created to distract us from it. Say that to yourself every single night when you lay down your head. What is so wonderful that all of this has been created? Where is the joy? Higher love. Where is the joy? Higher love. You'll find it. Thank you, ladies. And thank you, gentlemen.
I am LaShanda Henry, a.k.a. Sister Sense, your Power Circle co-expert today with the lovely Lynette Crosby. Thank you so much for listening to this Masterclass series brought to you by SisterSense.com. At the end of the day, our goal is to ensure that the success of your company depends upon the company that you keep. And so you want to make sure, as we make sure, that you are consistently in wonderful company. Have an amazing day. Take care.